Shri Krishnam Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishnam Sharanam Mama. So today we're reading from chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita. It's been a long journey. I want to thank all of you for having followed us all the way through from chapter 2 to here. It's been wonderful having all of you here. And for your commitment and for your willingness to be here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It really takes that kind of commitment to get anywhere in spiritual life, in any aspect of life, and especially in spiritual life. A lot of people think of spiritual life as fun stuff that you do, like get a little tarot reading or an astrology or this or that, play around with some crystals or have some fun doing some yoga, which they think of mostly as an exercise. But that is not where spiritual advancement is made. Spiritual advancement is made by real commitment and dedication to a spiritual path. And that spiritual path is not something that is taken lightly. So I really, really honor every one of you that is here and for having been here so consistently. Thank you. So this is chapter 10, the opulence of the absolute. And here Krishna is going to speak about his qualities further. He's going to explain more about who he is and so on, because that's what Arjuna is asking him. Who are you? Like, what gives you the authority to tell me how things work? Like, how karma works, how reincarnation works, how yoga works. How do I know who you are? So the Gita begins by using these words, and it's very important for those. See, there's a lot of people who feel that Krishna is just another master, another evolved being. But that's not what the Gita says. So right here, I draw your attention to the first words of text 1. Now, I know what you might have is the PDF version, which I've given you, which has just got the English, but I've also pulled up the Sanskrit out here. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. And this is there right through the Gita. Every time Krishna speaks, it doesn't say Krishna spoke, it says Bhagavan spoke. Bhagavan refers to Krishna. And Bhagavan means the supreme being, that who is one without a second. So, Bhagavan Uvacha, Bhuya Eva Mahabaho, Shruni Me Param Vachaha, Yatte Aham Priyamanaya, Vakshyami Hitakamaya. So Krishna says in here that, my dear friend, mighty armed Arjun, listen again to my supreme word. The supreme word is mentioned here as Param Vachaha, the supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit and which will give you great joy. That's the interesting thing about spiritual wisdom. Spiritual wisdom, when you hear it, if you really listen deeply, it has the effect of uplifting your soul, uplifting your spirit, connecting with your spirit. And when it does, it's as if your soul suddenly came alive. It's like, man, I'm finally listening to what I've been wanting to listen to all this time. Up till now, this human that I was sitting in, right, the soul thinks, was just going on feeding me all the garbage of the world, the news, the gossip, the stuff that people talk about. But finally, I'm getting to hear my stuff. I'm starting to hear something that enlivens me, thinks the soul. And so there's a great feeling of joy, a great feeling of, oh my gosh, finally, after all this time, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was longing for this knowledge. And so this feeling of upliftment, it's a fabulous feeling we have inside us. I remember the first time when I heard some of these things, when I dropped my resistance, because in the beginning I had a ton of resistance. I was 19 years old and I was like argumentative like crazy, and I wouldn't listen. One day I did listen. Everything kind of had fallen apart in my life, and yeah, all my stuff had got stolen, and I was desperate to understand what had happened. Yeah, this is back in college. So at that time, I finally listened, and I remember walking out of that room where someone had been explaining about the Gita and about these things, and feeling as if I was walking on air, feeling as if my questions had been answered, feeling uplifted in a way that I had never felt before. So I knew that I was onto something, and that resulted in me becoming a monk and so on and so forth, but that's a story for another time. So he says here, I shall impart to you for your benefit and which will give you great joy. It says, neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. So the Sanskrit word here is Surya Ganaha. No, Sura Ganaha. So Sura is the opposite of Asura. Asura is a person of demonic nature, a person who is evil and who wants to cause harm to others. But Sura is a person who wants the betterment of others, who wants to do good for others, who wants to help others. So Sur Ganaha. Ganaha actually refers to, Sur Ganaha refers to the demigods. And he says, I'm going to explain to you, because even the demigods do not know who I really am. Because I am the source of both the rishis, the sages, and the demigods. So it's a powerful thing that he's about to reveal. The nature of the absolute, the nature of the divine. Yomam ajam anadimcha veti loka maheshwaram asammudha sammartyeshu sarva papi pramuchyate. So here he says, he who knows me as the unborn, the word for unborn is aja. Aja means unborn. So someone who is not born, he who knows me as unborn, as beginningless. Beginningless means anadi, right? Anadi means without beginning. Someone who knows me as unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds. He only, undiluted, is freed from all karma, from all karmic sins. So Maheshwara, Maha Ishvara, the supreme master of all the lokas or all the planets, one who knows me as the supreme master, the supreme Lord, the supreme above and behind, the creator of all the planets, Asamudha, that is without doubt, Saha Marteshu, that one amongst all those people who are subject to death, that is amongst all humans or all beings, whether they are demigods or human or whatever, right? Such a person who knows me as unborn and beginningless and the Lord of all the worlds, such a person will be freed from all karma and all the delusion of this world. Do you know what is the delusion of this world? What is the delusion of this world? The delusion of this world is that we think that we are the epicenter of everything. We feel that we are the Lord and Master of all that we survey, all that we have, all that we own, our company, our business, our home. This is mine. This is mine. Every human being thinks this is mine. And yet everything is taken away from us at the time of death. None of us gets to hold on to anything, anything. I don't care if you're the richest person on earth. I don't care if you're the king of a country or of an entire planet. You still die and you leave it all behind. And if there is one truth about being human, it is this, that nothing belongs to anyone. No one belongs to anyone, right? You may think of someone as yours. You may love them deeply, but no one belongs to anyone. Your children, even as Khalil Gibran says, he says, your children are not your children. They come through you, but not from you. So nothing, in fact, is yours. Nothing. Nothing. And that realization is very important. Such a person is undeluded. To be deluded, to be in delusion, is to think that these things are mine, to think that this world is in fact real and is going to give me what I really want. It's going to give me the happiness I want. It's going to give me the love I want. If I meet the right person, then I will have the love of my life and I will be happy ever after. These are delusions, right? If I only have that house, that car, that job, that whatever it is I desire, then I will be happy. Delusion, right? If only I could, you name it, whatever it is, delusion, right? Reality is that all of this cannot give you what you want. Even if you have the entire world, you will not get what you want. What you want is hidden from the world. What you seek cannot be found here. It's a mystery. It's an incredible thing. This longing that we have, with which we search the world, a longing that is never fulfilled, never, not in the world, not no matter what you have. I challenge even the richest person on earth. I challenge the most famous person on earth. I challenge the most beautiful person on earth, the most knowledgeable person on earth. None of them would have found lasting happiness. None of them. They will find it, but not in the world. They can all find it. You can find it, they can find it, everyone can find it. You will find it hidden within you. And when you find it hidden within you, you will know the difference between that which lies outside and that which lies inside. That which lies outside is like monopoly money. You know, it's nice for playing games. It's nice to play the game of life. I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. I'm not saying you shouldn't play games, but you should know a game is a game is a game, right? You should know when you're playing Monopoly that Monopoly is not life, right? You're playing a game or chess or whatever. But yeah, monopoly money, fake money, right? Real money, real wealth, real abundance lies within you. And one who has found that has found the greatest treasure of all. Right? So the delusion is about getting out of this mentality that the fake world is in fact real, and to realize that there is nothing real out here, nothing at all. Yeah, I know it feels real. It feels very real, and that's the nature of the delusion. I mean, it's like if you're in a virtual reality headset, it feels so real. If you're in a good movie, it feels so real. You're sucked into it. You're carried away by the director with all the different things that director is showing you. But none of it is real. It's been created for you to enjoy. So enjoy. Enjoy the movie. I'm not saying don't watch the movie. I watch them all the time. Enjoy them. But know what they are. That's all. Delusion and awakening. Delusion is to believe that the illusion is a reality. Awakening is to know the difference between the illusion and the reality. Once you know the difference between the illusion and the reality, then you know how to play the game of life. Now you're playing the game of life. The game of life is not playing you. So that happens when you can step out of your mind. See, the purpose, Nirmala, as you were talking about meditation earlier, the purpose of meditation is not just to do a mantra, is not just to do a practice. I don't care what your practice is, whether you're doing guided meditation or you're doing a mantra meditation or kirtan or deep breathing or whatever you're doing. That's just the process. The process is not important. The destination is. The destination is that you're able to distance yourself from your mind and watch your mind and your thoughts and your emotions. You're able to watch your mind as it gets pulled towards this place and that place, and you're able to bring it back to the seat of center within you. and not be disturbed. That's the beginning. That's just the beginning. I'm sorry to say. But that's where the journey now gets interesting. Now you have started to separate. It's like separating oil and water, right? First, everything was swirling. It was perhaps a better example would be sand and water, right? When the water is swirling, the sand is in the water and it's swirling around. But as the swirling stops, the sand begins to settle down. And now the water becomes clear and you can see through it. So in the same way, when our mind is swirling with thoughts and emotions and plans and desires and goals, we can't see clearly. Mind is swirling. That sand is swirling inside. The clear water of our consciousness is clouded by this. So meditation helps you bring that to a stop. And when you bring it to a stop, the sand of delusion settles down. And you're able to see clearly now who you are and what the world is, what your thoughts are, because the world is in your thoughts. The world out there is only 1/10 of what you're experiencing. 90% of the world is in your head, right? I like this, I don't like this. This is good, this is bad. This is wonderful, I like the heat, I don't like the heat. I like the cold, I don't like the cold. And the traffic is so terrible. And someone else says, no, it's okay, it's fine, no problem. He should have done this, he should not have done that. This is right, this is wrong. Boom, you're in your head. 90% of the world is in your head. Only 10% is out there. Maybe even less than 10%, but I'm going to give it that, right? So when you quiet this down, it settles and you can see clearly and you know what has to be done. At least you have a better chance of knowing what has to be done. Chapter 10, text 4 and 5. Krishna continues. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. So even the qualities, our good qualities, are not created by us. You know how so many people, they try to be good. It's such a trap. So much of a trap. Trying to be a good person, trying to be a good human being. Don't try to be a good human being. Because what will happen is the more you try to be good, you're pulling the pendulum to one end of the spectrum. I've seen it again and again and again. People who try to be good end up being bad. The pendulum swings. They end up doing horrible things. They end up being nasty, obnoxious, mean, selfish, abusing children and abusing people and doing all kinds of things, because you can only hold it together for so long in being good. And then the pendulum swings the other way. However, instead of that, instead of trying to be good, focus on being real. Focus on being authentic. Recognize where your weaknesses are, where your flaws are, and let that cultivate within you a humility. Because only when you know where you're really at can you begin the process of improving and gradually taking care of that. At the same time, know that you will never be better than others, that you will never be perfect, that you will never be awesome, as they like to say here in California. You will always be a flawed being. This is the reality of how you were created. You were created to be a flawed being. You were created to be imperfect and to strive for perfection. But the striving for perfection, the mind interprets that as a striving to become perfect. And that will not happen. That will not happen. The imperfect will never become perfect. The perfection you seek is already here. It's in you. It was always here. The longing you feel is the longing for you, for the real self. And as you come home back into the real self, because it is already perfect in every way, you will find your entire character starting to change. You will never do something that is harmful to another. You will never do anything that is unethical. You will not, as long as you stay in alignment with that part of you. Yes, you may go out of alignment, that's a whole other thing, but it will not let you, as long as you stay true to that self. Like Shakespeare says, to thine own self be true. You heard this? To thine own self be true. And as the night, something, the day, you shall never, I'm forgetting that one. Does anyone remember it? That you will never do wrong by any person. That is the gist of it. I shall look it up for you just in a moment. This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. Right? To thine own self be true. What is that self? That self, as I understand it, is your soul, your higher self, your true self, your authentic self. To thine own self be true. So be true to that part of you. And it must follow as the night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. In other words, then you will never do something that is false or out of alignment with that. You will never hurt anyone, for example. You will never betray anyone, for example, right? If you follow this idea, to thine own self be true, right? And it must follow as the night the day. Thou cannot then be false to any man. So Krishna is saying over here that all the qualities we seek, right? The qualities of nonviolence, of equanimity, of fearlessness, of satisfaction, of austerity, charity, fame, infamy, whatever it is that we seek, including the negatives, fear, death, birth, distress, all of that is created by me alone. In other words, all of that also lies within you, right here, right now. You have all of that within you. Within all of us lies goodness and evil. Within all of us lies all possibilities. We can be anything. And therefore, the greatest gift we have is the gift of choice. To choose. To choose. To choose is your will. That is your free will to choose. There is this most incredible thing of all, to choose. And once you choose, what should you choose? Right? If you're not going to choose right and wrong, if you're not going to choose good and evil, then what are you going to choose? Choose this particle of God, and through this, the source of it all, God. Because Krishna is saying all good qualities, everything comes from him. You don't need to do something separate. He will give you the qualities you need. In a later verse, he says, I provide to one who worships me with love, I provide what they lack and I protect what they have. Krishna continues here, the 7 great sages and before them the 4 other great sages and the Manus come from me, born from my mind, and all living beings populating the various planets descend from them. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Let's take a look at the actual verse. Mama yo veti tattvataha. One who knows this, knows me in truth. This mystic power of mine, knows that in truth. Krishna, or the word mama, mom means mine. One who knows this power of mine, this yogic power, a mystic power of mine. One who knows my vibhutim, my opulence, right? Again, so you may say, well, Krishna's not talking about himself. He's talking about something, the universe. No, no, no. He's talking about himself, right? He's talking about mama. The yogam mama yahaveti, one who knows this mystical yogic power of mine, one who knows the tattvataha, factually, right? That person will engage in yoga, yujyateya, atra samshayaha, without doubt. Then he says perhaps one of the most important verses that I like. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante mam bodha bhava samanvitaha. Aham sarvasya prabhava, that all that has been created, all that has been generated, all that you see in this world and in all the universes beyond, right? Aham, I am, sarvasya, of all of it. Aham sarvasya prabhava, the source of that of which has been created. Mata sarvam pravartate. From me, everything emanates. Iti matva bhajante mam. One who knows this becomes devoted to me. Right? Buddha bhava samanvitaha, with great attention and devotion. So to explain it in simple language, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. I'm the source of everything. So I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with their heart. Iti matva bhajante, bhajan, to become, to worship, right? Bhajante mam, they worship me. Buddha bhava samanvitaha, with great and rapt attention. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to serving me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So mad chitta mat gata prana bodhyante parasparam kathayantas chamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Kathayantas chamam nityam. They are always talking about me. And I invite you to join in talking about Krishna. Any questions that you might have, anything you'd like to ask. Right? Why is it so beneficial to talk?
Yeah, it's very convenient, bro.
If there's something you'd like to say, just raise your hand first, please. So if there's something that you want to say, any questions you have about what we've read till now, I'd love to hear from you. Mat chitta mat gata prana. Right? They devote their lives to me. They enjoy talking about me. Why? Do you know why? Not because he's so vain. You might think that, oh, well, he likes people talking about him, probably vain guy. No, because the katha, the talk about Krishna uplifts us. It is not about him. When we meditate on him, when we chant his name, when we talk about him, we experience an a purification of the heart, of the mind, of the soul. We experience a purification. We feel an upliftment, and we feel a sense of timelessness. We feel a sense of being transported out of this world. That is why one enjoys talking about these things. That is why I think you keep coming back. There must be something. It can't be my face. I'm sure it's about something in that we're reading, something that uplifts you, something that touches your heart, something that must be touching your spirit, that causes you to want to keep coming back and keep listening to more and more. Tell me, how does it feel for you when you hear about these things, when you speak about these things, when you think about these things? How does it feel for you? What is it like? Is what Krishna is saying here true? That this experience is very uplifting for whoever hears it, speaks about it. Anyone want to share your experience? All right, I guess I'll continue. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajante priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Those who are engaged in satatam yuktanam, which means always, right? Engaged in bhajatam, in worshipping me, in devotional service or worshipping me. Those who are engaged, always engaged in worshipping me, priti purvakam. Priti means in love, in loving ecstasy. Priti purvak, the fulfill, when you take love to its highest ecstasy, that is priti purvakam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I give that person real intelligence, real wisdom, right? Tena yena mam upayantite, so that they can come to me. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Tesham evanukampa artham aham agya jam tamaha. Agyana jam tamaha. That agyan means ignorance. To dispel tamaha, the agyan, the ignorance, right? Tamaha is darkness. Tamasoma jyotirgamaha. So the light which illuminates the darkness of ignorance. Tamasoma jyotirgamaha. That is about the light that illuminates the darkness of ignorance. Krishna says, I provide the light which illuminates the darkness, gives them the knowledge, right? Because he's dwelling within our hearts. I, who am dwelling within their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. I can tell you this as a personal experience. This is 100% true. He speaks to you from within your heart. He speaks to you and guides you. And not only does he guide you, but he eliminates the anarthas, the bad qualities that you have, the ignorance that you have, the lack of understanding that you have. It eliminates that. And once he eliminates that, your life becomes a very beautiful flowing river. The boulders, the rocks, the things have been removed from there. Your life becomes very smooth. It has been my experience that in the process of learning to become more and more and more aligned to what he's saying, to embracing what he's saying within the heart, and really following it with deep sincerity, this happens. There's two ways, as he will tell you. You can do it yourself, or you can allow the grace of the divine to work its magic on you. And the way that grace works is by listening, by speaking, by remembering. Shravanam means to listen to, just as you are doing right now. This is Shravanam, the listening to the words about Krishna. Kirtanam, to speak about or sing about, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam means to remember Vishnu, to remember Krishna. Pada Sevanam, to worship his feet. Archanam is worship, Vandanam, prayer. Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam, to become the servant of God, to become the friend of God, and to surrender one's entire life to God. Does it mean that your life will change in any way externally? No. You'll still work at your job, you'll still work at your business, whatever it is you do. You'll still have the same family, you'll still be doing everything. But in your heart, you will be carrying this wonderful jewel of devotion. And that jewel of devotion will light up inside you, illuminating everything that needs to be known. It will give you wisdom. He will speak to you from within your heart and guide you. That is his promise here. And that I have seen actually happens. I've actually sat and I've asked him questions and written the answers and written hundreds and hundreds of pages of those answers. And I can tell you that it works. Like he says here, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. This is so true. So at this point, Arjun speaks up. Arjun says, Arjun uvacha, param brahma param dham pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum ahustvam rishaya sarve devarshir naradas asito devalo vyasa swayam chaiva bhavishime. It's very, very revealing, this verse. He says, you Krishna, are the Param Brahma. You are the supreme Brahman. The Brahman is the light, the Brahma Jyoti, the light where all transcendentalists aspire to go to. He says, you are the Param Brahma, Param Dhama. You are the ultimate destination. I'll read the entire translation first and I'll break it down. You are the supreme personality of Godhead. You are Bhagavan, supreme Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narad, Asita, Devala, and Vyas confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. Param Brahma. Krishna is Param Brahma. He is the supreme Godhead, the supreme being. Param Dhama, the supreme destination. Pavitram, he is the purest of pure. Paramam Bhavan. Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, you are Divya Purush, the divine being, right? You are a divine being. You are the eternal, transcendent. Adi Devam, you are the original Deva. There are many demigods, but you are the original. You are the source of all the demigods. Adi Devam, Ajam Vibhum. Ajam means, again, Aja means unborn, and Vibhu means the greatest. Ahasvam Rishaya Sarve, and all the rishis, all the great sages, all the wise people for thousands of years have declared the same thing. Devarshi Narad, Tatha Asito, Devala, Vyas. Vyas is the compiler of all the Vedas, thousands of texts that were written 5,000 years ago and compiled by Vyas. All of them, Swayam Chaiva Bravishimi, and you are declaring the same. They have all said the same, and now you are saying it to me as well. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons can understand your personality. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency. O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe, please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. It's interesting the kind of words he uses. Hmm. He calls him Purushottama. Purushottam means the greatest person. Purusha Uttam means the greatest person. Purushottama, Bhuta Bhava Bhutesha, Deva Deva Jagatpate. You are the Deva of the Devas. You are the Lord of all the demigods. You are the master of all the demigods, Brahma, Shiva, all of them. You are the master of all the demigods. Jagatpate, you are the master of the universe, the Lord of the universe. So who can know God except God himself? We cannot. And Arjun is not saying that only because Krishna is saying so. He's saying this has been declared in the Vedas. This has been declared by the great sages. This has been declared by everyone. The evidence is not just in what Krishna says. It's not just in what Arjun thinks. It has been said for thousands and thousands of years before before even Krishna spoke this. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also said, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. This was the ultimate work of Vyas, the compiler of all the Vedas. The Vedas are known to be some of the most profound spiritual books ever written. Any questions so far? Now Arjun is wanting to know further. He says, I want to know about your divine powers by which you pervade all the worlds and abide in them. He says, how should I meditate on you? In what various forms are you to be contemplated? Tell me again in detail of your mighty potencies and glories, for I never tire of hearing your ambrosial words. See, he has developed what is called ruchi, a taste for hearing. He has gone beyond the place of doubt, and he has come to the place of shraddha, from faith. From that faith, from that trust, now comes ruchi, a tense sense of, it's like deliciousness. When the more he hears about Krishna, the more delicious it is, the more wonderful it is, the more delightful it is, right? And so he's relishing hearing more and more and more. If you're finding that you're getting more and more bored and more, less and less interested, then you may find some obstacle coming up within you. And it's best, if you're feeling that way, to talk about it, to bring it up, to take those doubts that may come up and bring them out in the open. Don't hold them back. Do not believe blindly. I have said this many a time in our meetups. Don't believe anything that I'm saying blindly. Don't believe anything Krishna is saying blindly. Ask your questions. Be willing to be curious. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Bhagavan spoke. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent. For O Arjun, my opulence is limitless. He is called Bhagavan because he possesses all opulence. What does that mean? The word Bhagavan, some have defined this to mean there are 6 main opulences. If someone has got a lot of wealth, we look up to this person, we admire this person, right? We even envy this person. If a person has a lot of wealth, if a person has a lot of fame, there are 6. So a person has a lot of wealth, a lot of fame, a lot of beauty, a lot of strength, a lot of power, right? And a lot of renunciation, like a sadhu or a rishi. We look up to them, we admire them, we put them on a pedestal. But now imagine someone who possesses all wealth, who owns everything, everything, right? The entire universe, all the planets, everything that is in them, and everyone who is in them, who owns everything, right? How much more would you look up to such a person? That is Bhagavan, one who owns everything, who knows everything. See, we admire someone who has a lot of knowledge, someone who has a lot of intellectual knowledge, knows everything, like incredible, like an encyclopedia. They can rattle off from this and that and facts and figures, and it's just incredible, their knowledge. And we admire such a person. But imagine someone who knows everything. Krishna says, I know everything that has happened in the past, all things that are happening now, and all that is yet to happen. Imagine such a person. And we look up to someone who is beautiful, right? Handsome, beautiful, depending on your gender, depending on your preference. If you look up to someone who is extremely beautiful, even anything that is beautiful, a beautiful flower, a sunset, and you stop to watch that sunset. You stop to look at that flower. You stop and you admire this beautiful person. Now imagine someone who is the source of all beauty, from whom all beauty emanates. That being, right? There is a beautiful song, Madhuram, Madhurashtakam. If you haven't heard it, try and understand it, try and listen to it. He is the source of all sweetness. All sweetness emanates from him. His walking is sweet. His talking is sweet. His flute is sweet. His character is sweet. His behavior is sweet. His everything is sweet. From that sweetness, that is the beauty. Madhuradipate, he is the Lord of sweetness. Madhuradipate, Akhilam Madhuram. He is the fountainhead of sweetness. So that is the beauty. All knowledge, all fame, he is known everywhere. Whether you call him Krishna or you call him Jehovah or you call him Allah or you call him Christ, it doesn't really matter by what name. Shakespeare said very beautifully, he said, a rose by any name would smell as sweet. Our concern is not by what name you call him. Our concern is, does the rose smell sweet? It doesn't matter what language you call the rose by what name you call it, what name you give it. It really doesn't matter. But does the rose smell like a rose? And if it does, then it is a rose. Right? A rose by any other name, Shakespeare said, would smell as sweet. So the same here. You recognize a thing by its qualities. And that's why it is important to know the qualities of God. Once you know his qualities, then it doesn't matter the name. Then we'll recognize that all of us are actually worshiping the same being. Whether you think of him as light or whether you think of him as a being, whether you think of him as male or you think of him as female, it doesn't really matter. When we are talking about that which is the origin of everything, Krishna says, I am the origin of all material and spiritual worlds. If we are talking about that which is the origin of all things, then we're talking about the same thing. And it really doesn't matter whether you think the light came first or the being came first. That's the chicken and egg story, right? It really doesn't matter. In fact, there is when you talk about a place from where in which there is no time, then the idea of which came first is actually a flawed idea. I have heard many people argue this, that, oh, first came the light and from the light came the avatars of Vishnu and so on and so forth. And this is utter nonsense. Because Krishna says, even in the Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, and never in the future will any of us ever cease to be. So if there was never a time when he did not exist, there was never a time where the light and he was separate. They were always existent simultaneously. So this argument is completely fallacious. The light and the manifestation of the divine that emerges from that light, it not actually emerges, but the manifestation of the form of the divine exists simultaneously. And once you get that, then it is mind-blowing. Now you don't need to start dividing yourself, but am I interested in Vedanta or am I interested in Bhakti? Am I interested in Buddhism or am I interested in Vedanta? You don't need to make all these divisions. All of them are paths leading to God. Study all of them, learn from all of them. Don't limit yourself. They will all provide you pieces of the puzzle. They will all provide you. Sufism will provide you. Christianity will provide you. All of them will provide you pieces of the puzzles. Psychology will provide you. It doesn't matter. Do not get limited by anything. Please feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions at any time. I will definitely love to hear from you and answer any of your questions. Then he says something very interesting.
I believe that Rema is raising the hand in virtual.
Oh, Rima, hi. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry, you can't see me.
I can't see you, yes.
You know, all along you've been talking, Rohit, about how we shouldn't believe and there should be an experiential truth.
Yes.
How does one test this hypothesis that Krishna is everything?
Okay. Actually, in the Gita itself, the test happens. Okay. We will come to the part where Arjun will challenge him and he will then reveal the universal form. If you see this picture behind me, you will see that he is revealing that universal form to Arjun in that picture. So in the Gita itself, a challenge is given to Krishna. Krishna makes all these claims and then Arjun doesn't sit back and just believe him. He says, okay, well, how do I know this is true? So there is no problem if you have any question. But for you, since he's not standing in front of you right now, and since you don't have the opportunity to challenge him directly, you do have a way to access this information within yourself. And that is this. Through the practice of meditation, through quieting your mind, like I said, you will feel the chaos within you settling down. You will begin to experience that which lies within you. You will notice then that you have the qualities within you that Krishna is talking about, only but in a small measure. You will not have them to the extent where you can claim that you are the source of all material and spiritual worlds, nor will you be able to claim that you are, seated in everyone's heart, that he claims. But you will notice that the rest of that, the primary qualities that he stands for, are present within you. You will begin by experiencing the first level of that, and that is peace. And as you go deeper within yourself, you will notice there is not only peace, but there's a kindness, there's a compassion, there is a sense of love for everything and everyone. You will notice within yourself great wisdom starting to arise. You will experience things that come when your mind is quiet, but they do not come until your mind is quiet. You will not have an experiential understanding until that time, unless somehow by grace you are suddenly given a bolt of lightning and boom, becomes clear. That doesn't happen that often. But I'm not saying it can't happen. Generally speaking, the realization happens by applying the principles that are being taught here. So there is a process. The process needs to be followed. When the process is followed, you see the outcome. If I tell you that hydrogen plus oxygen combined produces water, then you must find the right conditions in a lab to combine these two to get water. Till the point that you do the experiment, it'll be still a theory. There will be, but when you do the experiment, the theory would then have been tested in an experiment, and then you will arrive at the conclusion. Yes, this is true. Hydrogen and oxygen combined produces water. Fantastic. I now have my evidence. I now know it's a fact. I've been through that process, and I can tell you every bit of it is true. But that is my experience. My experience means zero to you, right? How do you know? Maybe I'm making it up. Therefore, I emphasize, you need to do the test. You need to do the experiment. Till I did the experiments, I was still having to believe someone. And look, belief is only to get you to do the experiment. Okay? Belief is not that you just believe and don't do anything after that. That's ridiculous. That's what most religions teach you. Just believe. And if you believe, then everything is done. Nothing is done. You don't see people changing as a result of their belief. They become more fanatical in their belief. They become more close-minded in their belief. But the real symptom of having experienced God is you don't become close-minded, you become more open-minded. You're open to all possibilities. You're open to all methods because you realize that the method doesn't matter. The process doesn't matter. The religion doesn't matter. The belief doesn't matter. What matters is the outcome. Did you get the result or not? Right? You could read 100 books on how to make money, right? How to be a millionaire, right? Doesn't matter. Read 1,000 books. But unless you go out and become a millionaire, what's the use of all the books? Right? All the information, all the knowledge is useless unless you apply it and you make your first million and then your second and then your third and so on and so forth. If that's what your goal is, then you need to go out and, as the saying goes, put your money where your mouth is. You need to apply what you have learned, right? So that is how you will see the results. And you could do this a few minutes a day, a few hours a day. I encourage you to do it all day. All day, in the midst of your work, in the midst of everything you do, weave this awareness into it. In your friendships, in your relationships, weave this awareness into it so that way you are constantly observing yourself, testing yourself, watching yourself. Where is my mind going? Keep it focused. Keep it here, now, present. Present doesn't mean only on your breath. Present could be on what you're doing. Right? Train it. That's the important part. Because then when you come to your meditation, you'll be able to easily focus on your breath and you'll be able to easily slip into that place of the heart and of the soul. I'm going to leave the rest of it for later. And in the meantime, if there's anyone with any further question, please ask. We're coming to the end of today. Does anyone have any further questions?
No, thank you. Thanks, Rohit.
All good. Thank you, Ryan. Take care. Craig, anything?
No, just basking in the stillness. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Because ultimately in that stillness, you will find everything. It is not in my words. It is in the stillness you will find everything. And in the stillness you will find, because when you listen to these words, they bring you to that stillness. I recognize when I read any text, any book, if that book brings me to stillness, I know this has been written from stillness. That which was written from stillness will bring you to stillness. That which is spoken from stillness will bring you to stillness. Like that, rapidly. When it is spoken with a chaotic mind, it will bring you to a chaotic mind. When the book was written from a chaotic mind, it will bring you to a chaotic mind. But thank you. That was a wonderful thing you shared. Thank you. Gabriel, anything? Okay. Thank you, guys. It's been an honor serving you. It's been an honor being here, and I will see you next week. Take care.
Thank you, Rohit.